We welcome today Agnieszka Gaczkowska, who is founder of enormous and very exciting community Oplotki. She is also a leader for this organization, but also she leads business-based communities. She leads masterminds. So she is very, very exciting. Thank you, Agnieszka, for coming today.
Thank you for having me. So excited to talk about the crowdfunding and all the amazing things that we do in this Polish community.
Yes. Our today's main topic is crowdfunding, because this is the tool that we can use to finance our dreams, not only films, but also books, as in your example. Tell me more about what was your idea and how it worked in some bullet points?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I wouldn't have thought about crowdfunding were that not for our common friend Agnieszka, who is actually a specialist in that field. And she actually introduced me to the idea of, yeah, Agnieszka, I know you've got like this big dream that you don't kind of dare to go for it because of the finances. But what about crowdfunding? Maybe you could found your book through your community. There would be a lot of people who would like to read the book. So you don't have to kind of take out the cash out of your pocket, especially if I didn't have that much. But you can actually invite people to buy the book that is not yet existent. And to be honest, I was thinking, why didn't I think about it earlier in online business, where we do a lot of our activities in this handmade industry? For example, online courses or online workshops. There is this rule that you kind of sell things that are not yet existent, and then you deliver the product, the course, right? It's so popular in online business. And it's the same rule with crowdfunding, but I haven't thought about that earlier. So when I met Agnieszka, I was at this point where in our community, we've been meeting offline for handmade workshops, knitting, macrame, crocheting. The idea of those workshops was to gather people to talk about our businesses, about our passion, about, conscious logging out of this pacing world through handmade. And also we've been working with handmade artists to support them in their businesses, to help them create their online businesses in order to make it more sustainable. And at the moment, we found ourselves right at the edge of the pandemic. So it really hit hard handmade artists who lived out of stationary workshops. Their workshops were basically closed because we were not allowed to, go out of home. And in our business, we could feel this atmosphere of fear, of uncertainty. And on the other hand, I had this like deja vu feeling, because I was feeling the same emotions that I had at the beginning of starting of this business, where I pivoted from architecture, which was, a well-paid job. I have my own studio, so it was kind of like this thing that I do. And I pivoted to online business based on handmade. So it was like a lot of these emotions of, am I right doing that? My husband was really like thinking I'm crazy doing that. And so I had a lot of emotions of fear around that time. And when pandemic hit, my business was already developed big. I was already in online, so it actually saved my stationary business. And I was thinking, wow, it's the same feeling. I remember this moment of uncertainty. And I remember what I did to kind of cope with that. If I could package the way you can handle a difficult situation, the way you approach things through your way of thinking, through approaching difficulties as opportunities, if I could just share that with my community, I know that would have been a beautiful gift. And that's when the idea of a book came to me. If I could tell this story of, turning the biggest obstacle in my life, like difficulties, challenges, into the biggest opportunity of my life, if I could tell that story to my community, I know they would benefit from that. And when I had this idea, okay, I know what to write about. I know that I could write a book. I'm really good at actually like speaking, so I could actually like speak out the book and have somebody write it. That would be even easier. I knew that I wanted to do that, but then the reality of finances came. So in order to publish a book and have it as a physical product, you actually need a lot of money in advance to, you know, book the paper, to book the place you want to print it out, to design it, to actually go through the whole process of creating the book, checking the text and all of that. And I basically was not like maybe brave enough to take out that much of money out of our organization pocket, especially during COVID. We were all like kind of really careful about money at that point. And when this idea of crowdfunding came, it came to me so natural, as something so natural. I was like, why didn't I think about that earlier? And obviously, I had our common friend Agnieszka advising me on that, because I felt that once I took decision, yes, let's do this. Like the idea is crazy great. I knew that I want to do it like properly. I don't want to like endanger myself and like our community to make some mistakes that would come out of like not being aware of what can go wrong and all of that. So first thing that I understood about crowdfunding, that it's not about my book, actually. And, you know, it's really hard to swallow for your ego, right? It's actually not about your project. In your case, it's not about the film. It's not about the documentary. It's not about the goal of this crowdfunding campaign. Of course, a little bit as well, but it's about the community. It's about the people that are actually willing to take part in this big endeavor. And what crowdfunding gave me was this feeling that all those years of creating handmade community in Poland and like giving away my knowledge, sharing what I've known, like the know-how I have, I'm really generous with sharing my experience. I had this impression that there's a lot of giving on my part. Whereas when the crowdfunding campaign happened, it was the first time that I had this feeling that my community is actually like giving back so generously and mirroring this atmosphere of mutual respect and support. And those people started buying the book before I even started, you know, designing the cover and writing it. So that was this beautiful idea about crowdfunding. I don't know whether our audience knows the crowdfunding, or maybe we want to explain what is it all about with the process. Do you feel it's clear?
Yes, I think that in two sentences, it's all about founding your project by the community that you go to. Sometimes there are people who you don't know. Sometimes there are people that already know you. But the idea is to sell something beforehand, and sometimes it's in exchange of the service or in the book of the book that was in your case. But sometimes it's just about notice in a film or in a book that you co-founded this project.
Exactly. And when I understood that crowdfunding is all about how to incentivize the other party to co-create some kind of a project with you, something clicked in our community. Like even now when I look at the book, you know, I was like dreaming that it's going to be like a physical book, but I always wanted it to be, you know, kind of special, like with nice paper and, you know, the graphics that we can design on our own. And I knew that I couldn't, maybe that would be hard. That's like well said, with a publishing house. I would be restricted with their way of doing things, whereas with crowdfunding, I could really like design the book, make it special. Even now, I still send it, you know, I package it myself. I write the, you know, dedication letter. I strongly believe that I kind of pass on some positive energy with like really holding it and packaging it up. And I remember that during crowdfunding campaign, it started off as a plan that, okay, you can buy a book, And once enough people buy the book, we have enough money to publish it. So that was like this basic plan. But it so quickly evolved into this, okay, and what if more people buy? We could make it like even more epic. We can make this cover like really experimental, and we can have the best designer to do our graphics, and the paper can be like really special. And then it started growing and growing and growing. And what it ended up like being was not only delivering the goal of publishing the book. Like for me, that was just like fulfilling my dream. So that was this ego of being an author really fed that moment. But what it also allowed to glue together with the book our product. So there was a possibility to, buy one book and that was it. And then you got in the book once it was published. Or you could buy 5 books and 1 hour with me to talk about the book. And it was so fun to deliver them later on. But then also you could buy a book and take part in my signature program, which is like support for handmade artists when it comes to business, right? And then you can buy the book and crocheting online course. And that was obviously another price. But all the money from those like rewards for buying the book and something more, they were all coming into this one basket that was named crowdfunding of a book. And that was such a smart thing to do because the money started, piling up so quickly. It's something that used to be unimaginably huge sum of money and huge project started becoming so real. So in our campaign, we started in June. It was really a long campaign because we finished it September. We actually gathered all the money that we need for the book at the beginning of June. But once we said it's like, okay, it's till September, and we're like, okay, but we're done. We've gathered the money. We've been just raising the bar. What else? What else can we give to our community? So then we've been adding, okay, we're gonna do some kind of, events so people could meet. Okay, then we're gonna do something extra. Okay, now you can pick what cover we'll do. And we had a couple of, designs. So we could play around with not only delivering the thing that we wanted to do with crowdfunding campaign, but also we could like make it bigger. So if I were to advise that way of financing some crazy ideas, I would really strongly recommend that. But if I were to do it once again, maybe I would do it a bit smaller because it kind of blew to something so huge that I feel that, okay, I've got enough of campaigns for 10 years. It's so huge. Yeah.
But what I hear of what you're saying, that basically you could finish your campaign in June, but you realize that you set up for 3 months. So you realize that you need to follow the campaign, or you just
Yeah, that's such a
funny
funny question you ask. I've got this thing about, trust and delivering on my promises. And to me, now I can like see it clearly. I could just say, okay, we've gathered enough money, we're done, we can go on and publish the book. But once we've promised that the campaign will last from June till September, I was kind of like, I cannot just finish it like that, right? I just said that it's going to last till September. So there was this tunneling thinking that we could have ended the campaign. We would be complete. But we were like, okay, so if so much is possible in such a short period of time, what else is possible if we just stick to the timeline we planned, right? And now I kind of know, and my team, because we operate as a team of a couple of people here in Oplotki. And obviously I was not the only one, organizing the whole campaign and managing our community and, counting all those sales, designing the book and all of that. We kind of have this memory of the most, hardworking holidays ever in our organization because we've been like pushing ourselves. What else is possible? What else can we do to make it even bigger, even bigger? And for us, it was just, racing with ourselves. But as you said, we could have just finished, delivered the project, and the book would have been published either way. But once we felt this, there was this sense of community with our community, like they were giving something. We've been excited to announce what else we can do once we gathered another like pillar of our campaign, because we've been adding like, okay, if we gather this much more, then we'll do that. And if this much more, then we'll do that. And we've been so pumped up about, those small extras that it kept on giving. And I remember those funny moments, because you could buy the book, you could buy some, prizes to kind of like go along with the book. And those were the money financing the whole project. But there was also this possibility to just support the project without expecting anything in return. And you can write down how much do you want to donate. And of course, there were like 1 zloty, 5 zloty, they were like small sums. But we have had so many people, they were just playing with that, because once you've paid something to this goal, you could see your name as a donor. So if you bought the book, you could see your name, but also if you gave this 1 zloty, you could also see your book as, supporter of this crowdfunding campaign. And it was so funny, because there were people that were like 1 zloty, 5 zlotys, 1 zloty, because they always wanted to be with their name on that page.
Okay.
Yeah, so it just turned into being this like kind of festival of being together, of feeling this, spirit of community. And now when we think of this idea, it was no longer about the book. Like in your case, it could happen that it's no longer about the film, the commentary, or any other project. It's about like kind of being together with your community to create something bigger that you could imagine at the point where you start the campaign.
Yes, exactly. It's the energy, the vibe that you create with the community, and actually the monetary exchange that at the end you make. It's also the added value for your business, because there are people who read your book who are more engaged with your community, because the more extended prizes you were given, the more engagement they had with your business. So at the end, it's also very positive impact on your business, not only that you realize the goal, but also in the marketing way, in the relationship way.
Yeah, and you know what it also gave me, like this idea that I operate in handmade business, and our community is rather like niched down to, the idea of being together over some crafting activities, talking to people, feeling the sense of community, or maybe just learning some handmade skills. I always thought of myself and my business this way. Whereas the project of publishing the book, which is actually, it's my private story, how I started from, being an architect with your own studio, giving 6 figures invoices, to a place where you kind of drop it all and start from scratch with a handmade business. Like that must have sounded, funny when people heard that for the first time. And it was basically a story of a woman who wanted to reinvent herself, to actually follow her path rather than be defined by the external definition of success, go onto this, scary road of defining success on their own terms. And when I shared that story in a book, and while campaigning and, gathering the funds to publish the book, I needed to kind of, tell all the people, what is it all about actually? What am I trying to say in that book? I realized that my message is way bigger than the niche down community that I thought it was serving. Because it turned out that there are so many women nowadays, especially, who get at that point, especially somewhere around kids, right? Where they kind of pivot, reinvent themselves, have this moment of, okay, now it's me time. I've been serving everybody. Now I want to take care of my own. So to me, this crowdfunding campaign also made me realize that there is something more to what I'm doing, and the message is a bit more universal. It actually helped me to get out of my bubble, extract the, online business know-how and the business experience of creating this organization, and share that to other entrepreneurial ladies, especially in online business. And actually later on create many more products like, business masterminds, my mentoring. And that wouldn't have happened if there wasn't this crowdfunding campaign, as if that was this turning point of making this campaign something bigger than just our community. And of course, at the beginning, it was all about how can you make more people come to our community and buy that book to gather money? But actually, it helped us to see what are the values that are not only serving our community, but can be exported outside. So that's why I recommend to everybody, like the idea of a crowdfunding campaign and doing it at least once in your kind of like business life span, because it gives you a lot of information about your community, about yourself, and kind of helps you to kind of get out of your own bubble. Mm-hmm.
And do you think that you need to have a really strong built community before you go into crowdfunding?
I would say you have to have an awareness who is your community. I wouldn't like depend that on the size, how many people are there, but I would really make it dependent on who is that person you're talking to. Because what we've realized, our community was like big in numbers. We had like 15,000 people on our Facebook. Already, I don't know, 3,000 people on Instagram, YouTube channel, the blog, the website. Like we thought we were huge. But what our crowdfunding did show us, it was actually 150 people who supported the campaign. So it wasn't thousands, And it was so funny because around 70 of those people were actually somewhere on our, social media or somewhere. And the other half, there were people who came during the campaign. So that was really funny to observe that, we have those numbers, but they don't mean a thing. And I've been, researching other crowdfunding campaigns. And what I found out that it doesn't depend on a huge community. It depends on this work you do to get to know like your ideal person, and how can you bring a value through that campaign so that this person would like to support you. And it could be just one person, because then online allows you to kind of clone those people. There are more of those people. So I wouldn't, get scared if your community is small, if you don't have like huge following. But if you know whom you're serving and you have this idea of how am I actually contributing to others, then I would go for crowdfunding campaign. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very also how to say building for all the people who are starting out, who
Yeah.
have their turning point, because most of the protagonists that I'm working with, they are just at the beginning, and this is also the most exciting point because you don't know what's going next. So you this was 2 years ago that you were, yes, it's 3 years already.
Exactly. And this campaign exploded my social media following, but not in a way that I got like super huge following. I gotten the right people on my email list. I've gotten the right clients actually buying my products, because the right people gotten to know about me, and they don't need to follow me. They just need to, know what I do, and at the right time, for example, Christmas time, they remember that the best gifts are handmade gifts, right? And our community can sell products to those people. And recently I've been like witnessing my mastermind friend. She's doing a book campaign as well. She's actually doing some research on like gender and raising kids, and kind of, fighting the stereotypical raising of kids. And she also doesn't have like this huge following. She's actually academic, right? So those are not people like, on social media all over the place. But her topic was so necessary that I was myself sharing her book and sharing that to all my, friends who are parents, and they've been sharing that to their friends who are parents. And suddenly she had like dozens of people buying that book, supporting the crowdfunding campaign, and now she can sit down and actually write it, right? So it's also another proof that it's not necessarily a huge following, but rather this work that we do. How can I be of service? And my thing I'm gathering money for is actually this contribution, is bringing some value to the person that would gladly, support that thing. Yeah.
These are all very precious tips and tricks that you're giving. But also, I have one more question. What if the goal seems too big? Because we talk about sometimes big amounts, especially at the beginning. So what is your advice for that?
Yeah, I would share the advice that actually Agnieszka gave us. That's so funny. She's also Agnieszka, just like my name. Because I was also scared. I was scared with the sum of money. I didn't kind of believe that we could extract that much from our community. And on the other hand, I was like really scared of like me not being able to kind of manage such a huge project, right? So the book is, it was like designing it, writing it, like all of the steps of a publishing, house that you have to go through, and then actually sending it to people and all of that. So what we did by Aga's recommendation was chunking down this huge goal into some stages or like pillars. So when it came to the sum of money that we want to gather, there was like one pillar, second pillar, third pillar. So, okay, when the first pillar is done, we're going to do an ebook. And then once the second one is done, we've got enough for paper, so we can actually publish the physical book. And then if we have the third pillar, we could actually do the hardcover. So it was really like chunking down this goal into smaller sub goals. So no matter the pillar we complete, we still feel we won. We kind of completed the mission. So it was just like raising the bar each time we hit one goal. And also when it comes to time of this campaign, as we said, like it was supposed to be longer to just deliver this one goal, whereas we delivered it at the beginning. So it was also like giving ourselves, okay, 2 weeks to do that. And if we complete that, we can go for something more. And then it was like, shortening the amount of time to reach another goal. And we were still completing. So that was really like a huge tip. And I'm so grateful to Agnieszka. If I were to recommend working with somebody, that's like the best thing I did, that I didn't kind of try to think, oh, it's easy, I'll do that on my own. No way. At the beginning, I was like, I know nothing about crowdfunding campaigns. Where's somebody I could ask all about it? And I found Agnieszka. She's like highly recommended by so many people. I bought her book, read the book, did all the exercises in her workbook. And I was like, wow, that person knows what she's doing. And once I was lucky enough to like get the schedule with her, I knew that she's going to be supervising the whole campaign. And I really can say that it wouldn't have been so successful were there not Agnieszka at every stage of the campaign. Actually, each time we've hit a milestone or we had some, fuck up during the way, she was like, okay, now we've got this and this and that possibility. What could be the decision? What can we do? How can we pivot from here? And every step of the way, she led us through that process. She advised us. And that's why this campaign was really so aligned with the values of the organization, but also it was so responsive to the actual needs of our supporters. Yeah.
Yeah. And notice Agnieszka is Agnieszka Plotka, who is a specialist in the crowdfunding campaigns, especially in a women's crowdfunding campaign. And she is also helping us with the program. So thank you, Agnieszka. It was very precious to hear all your background story about this crowdfunding campaign. I hope that it still works for you, that the book is very universal, because I heard it in audiobook, so it also was for busy mom. It was the best choice. So I really recommend also to everyone who wants to change the life pivot, like you said.
Yeah, thank you so much. And it's so funny that we're speaking in English, because one of our pillars that we actually didn't deliver was English translation of the book. And now looking at it from over 2 years perspective, I consider that such a big gift, because now I see that like the English version of this book requires some new story that I kind of feel is like in the process of being written through what's happening in our organization, because we're also in the process of expanding into English speaking clients. I'm taking away our know-how, like Polish background know-how, into international markets, as if I'm writing a new chapter of this book. And when I look at it, I'm thinking like, even now talking about crowdfunding, I'm thinking like, wow, it kind of requires a kind of new campaign, like, because the client is totally different on the other side. Polish handmade artist is a totally different person that somebody on the other half of the world or the other edge of the world that wants to hear the story of some Polish business, like being born at home, right? So to me, it's also this blessing. And what Agnieszka is also like this strong ambassador is that we as women don't go for big goals when it comes for money. We're really good at raising money for charity, for others, but we're not that good with raising big money for our own ambition, big goals, or something for like that is serving our businesses. So I'm really glad that you're doing something together, because I believe some documentaries or big crowdfunding campaigns, especially those that are led by women, that's something so necessary as like role modeling that for other women. There should be more of us, because we've got so huge power, so much like mission driven, like fueled by our inner values businesses, that it's a right time to actually, go for something bigger. So I keep my fingers crossed for your campaigns. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. But to make some strong points about the crowdfunding campaign, and in your case, but also in general, what you need is a strong belief. Yes.
Yeah, this awareness whom you're serving and what is this your value proposition when it comes to crowdfunding. So what somebody will get from supporting you. So the stronger like point you have here, the more successful your campaign will be. And what I would say you'd need Agnieszka or somebody who actually is experienced in crowdfunding campaigns, because there are so many things you can actually copy paste from other campaigns. And there's no point, making those mistakes on your own skin during your campaign. It's better to look at them in other campaigns, learn from them, emulate the solutions, and actually implement that in your campaign. Yeah.
That's three things that what you need, and also what it gives you. Why start a campaign, and why to do that?
To me, it's a matter of commitment to a big goal. Like once we're really scared and we're just doing that every day, we kind of get chickened out of big goals. Like we look in hindsight over our businesses and we kind of see how much we've done, how many years we've like devoted to like our businesses or our missions. But crowdfunding is this one big thing you can like kind of frame in time and kind of look back with pride. And it's not only for your ego, because I'm honest, like it was feeding my ego, like being an author of a book, that was my dream, right? So that fueled me to go for it. But on the other hand, I saw what was the value for my community in that. And that's this huge project that each time there comes like this rainy day in my business, even now, like, worst moments. And sometimes when something goes wrong, I look back to this huge project, which is like this, this tangible thing, like this manifesto that we're capable of really big things. And it's not about just me doing that. It's about my team. It's about our community. And looking at such project always gives me like this strength and like self-confidence to trust my intuition in business, to go for things that are people are like looking at you like crazy with your ideas, but actually going for it. And it never failed me. When I look in hindsight, crowdfunding is this big thing you can do to be proud of yourself and make your community be proud of you, to kind of, build something even bigger out of that together.
Yeah, and on the really big plan, you also, if you ever dreamed about changing the world, this is also the way of changing, where when you share your story and make some people who want to change their life be inspired.
Exactly. And what, if I could add something to like being a person that did crowdfunding or not being that kind of person, like to me, it catapulted me to this like elite club of people who are actually dared to go for it. And I know Agnieszka is such a beautiful leader of that community of people who are in a campaign or are planning a campaign or already delivered a crowdfunding campaign. And it's a crowd of people you want to be in. Like those are dreamers, world changers, like people who had the guts to do it, and that does something to you. You dare for more and more and more with every step. So to me, crowdfunding campaign, even if that were to be like a total flop, that's something that changes something inside of you. You're no longer afraid. You're no longer waiting for that magical moment to happen. You make it happen. So I wish that campaign to everybody. Yeah.
So you take your faith into your hands and
Yeah,
start to change your reality.
exactly.
Thank you so much, Agnieszka, for your time, for sharing your story. And I will share also the links to your book, because it's really worth to hear it, to read it, whatever it's the best for you. And see you in the next projects that you're hopefully revealing soon. And I'm really honored and happy to know you and to follow your community.
Thank you so much. And I'm keeping fingers crossed for those campaigns. I'm going to be totally looking at them, because that's the thing that stayed with me from campaigning, crowdfunding campaigns, that I love supporting them because I know how it feels on the other side.
Thank you very much.